What's happening? My name is Paul. It's my birth certificate given name from my mother and from the Roman Republic. And I want to tell you guys a story of how I connected frequency with time and our calendar system. But before I get into that story, I wanted to give you guys a bit of a backstory of who the fuck is this guy? And I'm still trying to figure that out. So, if you want to judge me, that's up to you, but I feel like it takes a lot of time to figure out who you are as a growing human being. And I'm 47 years old. I'm going to be 48 here in November. So I've got some years upon myself, and I wanted to give you guys kind of a, I wanted to give you guys a backstory on how all of this started. And then whenever I get to the part where all this stuff started to happen, I'll start the build from there. But I'll give you guys a quick little summary. Thoth is the Egyptian god of wisdom from the ancient lands of Egypt, and he was also part of the times of Atlantis. He was the creator of mathematics, creator of writing, languages, and he repaired the left eye of Horus, the left eye being the feminine eye of Horus. So he was the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom, and I channeled this being after studying the Emerald Tablets back in 2021, 2022. All these things started to happen, and this happened on 8/8 of 2022. I just drew up this chart connecting the lords of the nine, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9, and connected them with the 9 solfeggio tones. That's what all the charts that I post are based upon this Thoth Jet Pillar frequency time cipher that I connected with the calendar system, and basically each date has a frequency on the calendar, and it revealed this fractal of space-time system and this whole like lost ancient star mathematics that connects with the cycles of time, and it's insane. But Thoth is related to the planet Mercury. It takes the planet Mercury 88 days it takes the planet Mercury 88 days to travel annually around the sun. And I channeled the Thoth Jet Pillars on 8/8. So that's kind of like the we're gonna get to that story, but I wanted to start from just whenever I was born as a child and into a family that my parents were both born in Colombia, and they knew each other in Colombia. They ended up both moving to the U.S. and America and New York precisely, and they ran into each other in New York, and I'm like, hey, I fucking know you from Colombia. It's like, and they hit it off, and I was born in Queens, New York, in Queens Hospital, and from the Queen's Chamber. So, anyways, I lived there for probably 9 months as a baby, so I can't claim New York at all. And I grew up in Dallas, and I had two older sisters. I was the youngest of two older sisters, and we're all 3 years apart, and I was born in 1977. And yeah, my first memory of just my first memory period as a fucking baby was sitting in the car seat, in the back seat, and it was raining. I just remember the window just having the drops of rain, and that was my first memory. And we got to the house that I would grow up in, and we all walked in as a family, my father, my mother, and my two sisters, and myself. And that was the last memory that I would have of all of us being a family, like doing something together as a family. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. We literally moved in that house. My family, I watched my mother and my father go through a divorce within like the first year of living there, and never had any memories of them actually being together. So the cycles and if you strip away the labels and the strip away the labels and the words and the frequencies and the cycles that I was born into, being born into divorce, and my father was cheating on my mother and doing shady shit behind her back, and just the energy that I was absorbing as a sponge from 0 to 7 years old. You're just absorbing energy and frequency as a child, and we're just basically downloading these programs that our parents have been indoctrinated into. So I'm being downloaded all this just shit behavior and cycles. And both my parents drank, and yeah, my parents ended up finally getting divorced, and I was the messenger of guilt. My mother I just remember her getting me dressed and be like, getting me ready to go be picked up by my father, and I'd go spend the weekend with him, and she'd be like, ask your father why he doesn't love us anymore, and why he doesn't want to live with us anymore. I'd go and fucking have to ask my father this shit, and like, why don't you love us, Daddy? Like, she was like teaching me this shit at fucking 2 years old or 3 years old. And so fast forwarding like some of the ways, I basically just feel like my sisters blamed me for my parents being divorced. They fucking like tortured me all through my childhood until I finally stood up for myself. But that took years of just getting my ass kicked and psychologically being fucked with by these two women and or girls at the time. And yeah, my one sister, she would, anytime that I would open up a closet door or go into any room by myself, she'd be like, hey, Paul, don't go in there. Denti Moore's in there. And have you ever heard of Denti Moore? It's the fucking can of soup. It's been around since the fucking 70s, since the 80s. And yeah, I didn't know what the fuck Denti Moore was at 3 years old, so I was like, dude, Mom! I'm screaming Mom because I'm afraid of the fucking boogeyman. I'm thinking Denti Moore's the boogeyman, and my mom's screaming, God, do you leave your brother alone? She's like, Paul, what's the matter? What's the matter? Everything's all right. So just that constantly like tormenting you and then acting like nothing happened, just like psychologically fucking with you. And yeah, I just grew up with two tormenting type bullies for sisters, and my parents, they were both going through their own trauma. My mother, she was raped as a child. Her father took her virginity from her, and he was part of that whole unholy Roman Catholic era where my mother's mother, my grandmother, she was part of that indigenous line. My family, my niece found the records of one of my ancestors, Luisa Vivencos, who was enslaved by the encomienda system. The encomienda system was released in 1503. It allowed conquistadors, colonialists, the right to genocide or enslave anybody that was on the land that they were staking claim to whenever they're gathering up all the gold and Earth's resources. So, my mother and grandmother are related to this indigenous person. So my grandfather, my mother's father, the one that raped her and took her virginity, he looked at them as pups. They look at the indigenous people. He had another other family that they didn't even know about. That he had another marriage and kids in some other country, and he owned like 3 different jewelry stores or some shit. And yeah, whenever he passed away, my mother got like fucking nothing, and his other family got like everything, to where like we're like the rejects of his wherever the fuck this guy was from. My mother said that his father's name was Comendador, and that means commander. So the male side of the line of my family, there's a lot of fucking like colonizers. My dad's he's a Spaniard, and the Spanish conquistadors. And my mother's side is the indigenous side, to where I've got the mixture of both going on with him. Like my sister, she's married to an American fella, and he's a fishing captain. And the lady that was enslaved, Luisa Vivencos, that was my ancestor back in the 1500s during the encomienda, she was enslaved by a fishing captain. So that cycle has been repeating itself for a long time. My other sister, she's married to a Marine. My mother was married to my father. He's a fishing captain as well. And yeah, the cycle's been like, who knows how long the cycle's been going forever, with the whole conquistador father and the indigenous mother, to where I'm mixed, to where all these ethnicities, like your whites, like, I'm just saying these names because these are the fucking terms that people use. I'm completely against labels. I think that we're all humans, and we all want the same thing. We just want friends and family, and not to be, we just want to be accepted into the group of humans. But anyways, I'm going to categorize this so we can explain this. You have your Latinos, your Asians, your whites, your blacks, and whatever groups, right? Whenever you're mixed and people don't know what the fuck you are, you're in this like in-between world where you're like outcast to like all these different groups. And I felt like I've been in this outcasted, like voided area my whole entire life, with my family and in the outside world. So with that being said, growing up and being bullied by basically my family, my mother and father, I think that they thought that I was like mildly retarded growing up my whole life. They thought that I was slow because it took me 2 years to learn how to talk. I was speaking in this other gibberish language that it was literally, and I was emphasizing speaking in this other complete different language for 2 years, and they said it literally took me 2 years to learn how to speak Spanish. Spanish was my first language, and then once I was in preschool and kindergarten, they put me in ESL. English is my second language, and all my friends ended up being the kids from the neighborhood, which was just this melting pot of all these different ethnicities of kids, and we all spoke English. So I just picked up English and kind of forgot Spanish. And yeah, so growing up and having my parents kind of think that I'm mildly retarded and stupid, and my sisters were always bullying me to where I was constantly being fucked with. My dad was an asshole, and he thought he was a comedian, to where he was always just joking around and pulling pranks, but it was like kind of going, he was always kind of going too far, to where I was just in survival fucking mode my whole entire life, until once I got into school and started meeting friends. And uh, elementary school, I felt like was innocent and fun, and I felt like I lost my innocence once junior high came. And junior high felt like it was prison. All the different ethnicities were literally clicked up, and this is during the Rodney King, like the Rodney King beating had just happened, to where everything was just on fucking edge, and all the gangster shit that was going on in junior high in Dallas during that time, to where growing up, I just remember 7th grade being a very intense, hard time, to where I was literally getting shot at. I was running behind cars and dodging drive-bys just for being me. And it was the clique of kids that I was hanging out with. It was just a super diverse group of kids, and I looked like I was uh, Latino. I looked like I was mixed with uh, half black, half white. I looked like I was mixed, to where all the uh, cliques, like it was like fucking prison in junior high. And yeah, all the cliques, everybody thought that they were gangsters in junior high too, to where I was being fucked with every fucking day, to where I dreaded going to school. And I eventually told my mom I want to go live with my dad in Padre Island, and she sent me to live with my father in Padre Island. And I basically ran away being a pussy, and didn't stand up to all this getting my ass kicked stuff, because I was a little guy. And long story short, my dad treated me like he was from the fucking military, like he was a military sergeant. And anytime I fucked up, this guy like gave me a fucking hefty ass whipping, nowhere. Not like spanking, he's like pulling out fucking whips and like the belt, and punching you in the fucking chest to where your sternum was like bruised for like 2 weeks and shit, and you couldn't like laugh or like cough or sneeze and shit. But basically the motherfucker like turned me into a mean motherfucker, to where I got on the football team, I got into personal development, I went through puberty living at this guy's, like living with him for the next year in Padre Island. And by the time I got back home, I didn't want to go back to him, because I didn't like this guy anymore. And to have somebody that I looked up to the most, and like I was super fucking bummed. But he did teach me how to make ceviche and how to fish and how to clean fish, and basically he fed me for life, because he taught me how to fish, and he taught me how to clean fish, and he taught me how to cook. So I'm not saying there was a lot of good moments that him and I had, but just saying, like, whatever his pops did to him, or whatever the males did to him growing up, they fucked him up, and I don't blame him, and I don't regret what he did to me. Yeah, this one time he fucking like picked me up by the fucking neck, and my feet were dangling off the ground, and like 13 years old. He's like, I will fucking kill you, you little motherfucker. If you ever talk shit about me again. Yeah, he thought that I stole $100 from him, and he ended up finding it like 2 days later and apologized. He's like, I wanted to apologize for kicking your ass for that $100. I ended up finding it. I was like, yeah, fuck you. At that point, by the time I left that place, I was like taunting him when he'd kick my ass. I was like, that's all you got? That's it? And but yeah, I'm grateful, because he taught me that getting your ass kicked doesn't really hurt that bad, to where I came back to Dallas with no fear. I didn't care if I got hit anymore because the person that I fucking loved the most whooped my ass. And yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened to him because the one time that him and I played basketball, like the one time that he fucking like ever played with me, uh, we were playing basketball and I was like 12, 13 years old, and we had a basketball hoop in the backyard, like at our house. And the one time that he played basketball with me, like at the basketball hoop that was in our backyard, I remember fucking being so fucking happy that I fucking like dropped to my knees laughing and giggling so hard that I was like just fucking a kid laughing, enjoying like probably like too overstimulated, like that my dad was like actually fucking playing basketball with me to where I got up, motherfucker's gone, like the fucking sliding glass door closed, and I'm just like looking there, just like what the fuck, and had no clue what to even think back then. But look, zooming out and looking, remote viewing that timeline and that memory, and seeing that happen, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck happened to that guy? You know, something happened to him. My sisters, he treated like fucking gold. Treated my sisters like gold, and also my stepsisters, the daughters of his new marriage that he was with whenever I went to go stay with him. So I ended up leaving Padre, and after a year of being with him and coming back to Dallas and just being a fucking like super rebel, I rebelled against my mother and rebelled against the school, and started eating acid like fucking candy. I was 15 years old, eating acid like candy. I started smoking weed for the first time in Padre. I got my first taste of that and just never stopped. And it's always been very modest, moderate, super simple. Uh, what would I call it? A crutch? Not even a crutch, but just something that I do. But yeah, I came back to Dallas, and I was getting into a lot of trouble because I came back with vengeance in my heart, and all those people that were messing with me and bullying me before I left, I went and got everybody back for all that bullying and made sure that I wasn't bullied again. And yeah, got into trouble, and these are things that I used to brag about growing up, just bragging about vengeance and fighting and doing dumb shit. And yeah, long story short, I ended up getting expelled in the 9th grade and missed a whole year. But so I was a year behind my original class. It was class of 95. But whenever I was in junior high and started eating acid like candy with a buddy of mine, I noticed that I was in advanced mathematics. Every other subject I sucked at, but I was in advanced mathematics, and just all of a sudden one day I just noticed I was in a different class, and everybody in my class was from the grade above me. And this was before I got expelled. I was in advanced mathematics in Padre Island. By like the time I was in 7th grade. By the time I was in 7th grade, they put me in advanced mathematics, and I was in there ever since. So 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. By the time I was in 10th grade, when I was in geometry, and 9th and 10th grade, that was 2 years of just eating LSD like candy, and that's when I noticed that the mathematics was, I literally remember saying, this is fucking Nazi math. This math is designed to make everybody think the exact same way and solve problems the exact same way. And I would, I would always get into arguments with every single one of my math teachers. Every single math teacher would always get into arguments with them because I was solving the problems my own way. And whenever I was getting the answers correct, and I was just solving them a different way. And the lady's like, "You need to show your work, and you need to show your work this is the way that we show the work, like in the book." And I was like, "Well, am I getting the answer right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it's like, "You can't count that." But so basically, I was doing it a different way and realizing that you can solve the same problem a different way, but they want you to do it their way. So I was rebelling in the math class against my math teachers because I figured out a different way to do the math. And it was easy. But yeah, I ended up dropping out my sophomore year, and my class of 95, they're all graduating, and I got in trouble because, well, I was like I said, I was doing a lot of LSD, and one day at school I just decided to take 3 hits of triple dip Beavis and Butthead, and that's like taking 9 hits. And yeah, I'm 16 years old. I have my license at this time, and I have a car, a vehicle, and I leave school during lunchtime, and I decide that I'm just gonna leave town and never fucking come back. It's like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting the fuck out of here. It's like, fuck the school, fuck the math, fuck everything, and I just wanted to just leave and get away from everything. And by the time I was peaking, an hour and a half had gone by. I'm on the highway. I get off the exit and enter this small town that I'd never been to. Still don't know where that was or what, but I ended up getting out of my vehicle and leaving my vehicle running, and ended up at a park somewhere. And I get picked up. I have 36 hits of acid on me at 16 years old, and I just hand it over to the officer. They're like, "We've been looking for you." I'm like, I got here as fast as I could, and they take me to the hospital to basically give me the ingredients to make me come down, and took me to a detention center. And I woke up the next morning in a detention center and was basically just like, "Mommy, where's my mommy? I need my..." And yeah, 16 years old, and mommy came and picked me up and rescued me. And I was on probation for a year and had to maintain an AB average in school and to pass my probation, and passed all that with flying colors. But I was in my advanced mathematics class and had to maintain the AB average, and had to go back to being in the 3D matrix of just being a good Paul and mastering the indoctrination of the school. But I remember after the first couple times of doing acid and going back to school and seeing all the eyes of everybody just walking to class, and just remember just I was like, man, these motherfuckers are under some type of spell. It's the same feeling that I got when I got to Salt Lake for the first time and saw everybody walking around the city in Salt Lake. It's that fucking massive fluoride stare, just, yeah. So anyways, that was, could say that was my first awakening. Was 15 going on 16, and I'd say that the time that it actually happened was whenever I was hanging out with some friends and I did that same Beavis and Butthead stuff, and I just basically had a massive trip to where I saw everything. I had a massive download to where I saw everything at once, and I didn't have the social maturity, I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the knowledge or the reference or any way of even expressing what the fuck I saw or what I had experienced. And after after I saw what I saw that night, I remember my last words were, I can't go back home and I can't go back to school. And I didn't speak for the rest of the evening. And a friend of mine had to literally watch me the whole entire night and like babysit me. And I didn't say shit the whole entire night. Uh, but that night, after that night, I was like silenced for a bit, and this one kid that I met sparked my mind, and it was at this party that I was at, and he was an older kid, and I think I was 16 and he was 18. He was a musician, and I was a musician, and this kid was also doing a lot of LSD, but he was just an intelligent thinker, and he's like, hey, come here. And I'm like, what's up? I came to his little circle, his little group, and I'm like the younger guy, and this is, it's like, you're one of us. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, you're one of us. And I was doing acid that night. I just took like a little bit, but I was doing it by myself, and I guess they were doing some too. And he said something to me. I can't remember exactly what it was, but whatever it was, I didn't sleep for 2 days after that tour. My mind was just racing, and I was just thinking, and I had all these questions, and I was going down all these rabbit holes, and I was basically going through a shift, and being a 15, 16-year-old that's good at mathematics, who thought he was retarded and dumb his whole life because his parents and sisters and all that were treating me like I was mildly retarded my whole life, to where I believed that I was. And yeah, but so anyways, long story short, I was doing all that. I got into high school, and high school was a completely different beast than junior high. Junior high felt like jail and prison, and all the different cliques of gangs, and it was a fucking nightmare. When I got to high school, everybody that was in high school, like everybody that was doing the gangster shit in junior high, they didn't even make it to high school. They either like dropped out, ended up in jail, or got shot or some shit. Like, it was some serious shit. And high school, people were actually learning and getting smart. Like, we had some actually like cool classes, like just art and ceramics and music and theater, and I was into all that type of stuff, to where I just got into books and reading. I started reading this book it's called Illusions by Richard Bach, and started reading my books on art with like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, and just actually just learning mathematics and thinking a little bit more like you're as a child growing up in a super dysfunctional family where nobody fucking like talked to you really. Like, if I tried to hang out with anybody in my family, it was like they would treat me like I was their fucking shadow. And uh, like the most fucking dysfunctional family that you could imagine, to where now that I'm an adult looking back on all that shit, all I've been trying to do is wipe away every single cycle that was absorbed onto me from that family. And uh, so I love my family, but it's a family that I had to set up a lot of boundaries to uh, be at peace with myself. And so, where am I at here? Yeah, I'm just giving you guys a quick summary. Like, all these stories can definitely jump back into another time as I keep telling the story, but I'm trying to build up to when I actually started channeling the Thought the Jed Pillars and the 181 frequency and connecting frequency with time and all this shit, to where I'm trying to like give you the prelude of why all this shit even started happening, and why my dumbass. So I remember looking back as a young child, like 4 or 5 years old. I remember having a really strong inner monologue to where I would always have super dumb songs getting stuck in my head whenever I'm trying to go to sleep, and I got school the next morning and I can't go to sleep because my mother was listening to some like Gloria Estefan, and I got some Gloria Estefan music stuck in my head, and it's like the whole entire production, like the fucking trumpets, the fucking drums, the guitar. I'm like, how the fuck is this whole entire production playing in my mind, and I'm a little kid just trying to go to sleep? But looking back on that, it's like that inner monologue that we have, that was always super fucking strong. And so, but yeah, I moved back to my mother's house after living with my father for a year. He whipped my ass and basically whipped me into shape to where I just had a chip on my shoulder the rest of my life, and I was just in survival mode, to where uh, in high school, if anybody fucked with me, I was just a dick. And I wasn't a bully, but if anybody talked shit, I just made sure that they didn't never talk shit again. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not bragging about any of that because I'm not proud of that. I'm grateful that my father whipping my ass shaped me into a warrior in the garden, because I'm capable of doing awful shit, but I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing to be the change with my pen and with writing and knowledge and investigating this reality. So, yeah, by the time I moved back to my mother's house, and I was on a fucking rampage, I was treating my mother like shit, and she was, both my parents were like severe alcoholics. They were both healing from trauma that they never healed from, and as they grew into their old age and became grandparents, that's whenever they started to become cooler, just like every story of every grandparent, probably. And so, yeah, before I moved, or so yeah, I moved back to my mother's house, and I was 15, 14, 15, 16-ish, in that area, and completely rebelling. Started to drive and was getting into massive amounts of trouble, and dropped out of school. I fell in love with this girl that worked at the coffee shop at the mall, and her and I hit it off, and we had my son, who's 28 years old now. I was 18 years old when I had my son, and yeah, he was born in 1997. I was born in 77. He was born in 97. He's 28. I'll be 48 here in November, and yeah, things didn't work out with his mother and I, but I made the decision to move to Utah whenever my family all decided to move to Utah, and I was getting into a lot of trouble in Dallas. The fighting and all that there is to do in Dallas is party and drink and hang out with friends, and that's all that I was doing. And I grew up skateboarding, and all the skate parks that were in Dallas closed down, and I missed out on a lot of years of not getting to skate. And I knew that Utah was a place of snowboarding. I knew that if I moved up to Utah, that I would get the opportunity to snowboard, and that I could have my son Anthony come up there and learn how to snowboard and have that life that I never fucking had. So I was having just this vision of just doing some better shit. And Dallas, Texas is a giant fish. You're in a giant ocean with a ton of fish, and Utah is like a small little lake with not so many fish, to where I felt like the opportunity to do stuff and have things happen. I was gonna have more opportunity up there, and just being around family. I wanted to be around my family. And another thing too is that I knew if I stayed in Dallas, I was gonna get in fucking trouble, because I was fighting with this one kid. This one kid, uh, his girlfriend basically came after me and sought me out, and I'm a young, dumb, horny guy, and I was single, and yeah, I like didn't refuse, and basically she cheated on her boyfriend with me, and I basically helped her cheat, so I was cheating along too, because this guy was, we were friends, and yeah, I basically was involved in cheating, and something that I'm not proud of at all. And if that were something that I could go back and change, it would be stupid shit like that. But yeah, he was after me after all of this, and anytime that we'd see each other at parties or hanging out with friends, people were always having to break up our fights, and I just knew that if I didn't leave Texas, that something bad could eventually happen, just based off of an accident, because a lot of stupid things happen, like a lot of dumb accidents happen whenever people are fighting out in public, whenever it's not uh, professionally refereed, you know. So I wasn't trying to go down that path, so I was getting away to be better and make myself better for my son, despite the long distance relationship that we're going to have from this point on. So I ended up moving to Utah and Park City, exactly, and that's whenever my whole life flipped completely upside down, and I was in this ski resort town, this tiny little bubble, this old mining town, Park City, Utah, and it's right outside of Salt Lake City. And yeah, I'd never traveled ever, and now I'm in this giant ski resort town where it's the greatest snow on earth, and the Olympics were held the next year after, in the year, or like in 2002, after 9/11 in 2001. And yeah, I witnessed 9/11 happen up there. I fell in love with this girl at this pizza shop, Pizza Hut. It was the original Pizza Hut with the original like Pizza Hut roof, the buffet, and the video games, the arcade games. And yeah, like the love of my life. Met this girl, and we hit it off, and yeah, I was snowboarding and working at the lift at the Mountain Resorts as a lifty, and eventually got onto the snowboard park crew, helping build the jumps and set up the boxes. And yeah, snowboarded for 14 years, and they built $1 million skate park up there, and I was skating that for 14 years, and 15 years, until I shattered my orbital temple and cheekbone at this other skate park in Salt Lake. And that's whenever I started to tone down the skating. But yeah, I ended up getting married to the girl from Pizza Hut, and we ended up having a daughter, and my daughter's 22 years old now, and she still lives up in Salt Lake City. She's got her own apartment, and she graduated. She was like 16. She graduated at 16 years old, and yeah, I've lived many lives. Whenever both of those relationships fell apart, my world, everything that I had in my whole entire world crumbled completely, to where, like, whenever I shut down my business, my sushi catering business and sold all of my stuff, everything that I'd built from the empire that I'd built, just sushi catering and working on motorcycles, to stand on this mission, standing against colonization. That was nothing compared to those times whenever I lost my kids and the loves of my life, whenever I was 19 and whenever I was 28. Yeah, so I was with my daughter's mother for 3 years. We were married for, I think, a couple of years. But I'm the one that messed that up by suggesting something that happened, and it literally ruined everything that was sacred and holy in the relationship, and I accept responsibility for ruining everything that was sacred within that relationship, because I believe that her and I were together in every lifetime, and this was the only time that things didn't work out. But going through the divorce, I was living in Park City at the ski resort down, and uh, I got my own place on Park Avenue, and it's above this little diner, this old diner that was run down. It's been shut down for years. It was, uh, yeah, Park City was an old mining town, and I knew nothing about the mining history or history. I was good at math. I wasn't good at anything else in school. I was just math, and I liked science, and but never really got into anything besides that. So yeah, I got my own place in Park City, and was going through the divorce, and I kept running into this fucking kid, and I'm trying to think even where I even fucking met this kid. Anyways, I kept running into this kid that I was friends with, and anytime that we'd talk, he'd be like, "Hey, did you fucking see that movie? What the bleep do we know?" I'm like, "No." Like, "You should fucking check that out. I think you'd really like that movie." Like a month passed by, and I saw him again, and same thing. We had the conversation. He's like, "Hey, did you ever watch that movie I was telling you about? What the bleep do we know?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Dude, you should fucking really check that out. I think you really like it." And he ends up moving across the hallway from the condo that I'm living in, and I help him move in, and he moves in and gets all settled in, and we're hanging out one night, and he's like, "Did you ever watch that fucking movie that documentary that was What the Bleep Do We Know that I told you to watch?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Dude, he literally made us end the night and got me into my car. He's like, go drive to Blockbuster and go rent that movie." This is all before I couldn't just go into my phone and Google What the Bleep Do We Know, because this was back this was like 2002 or 2003 or some shit. Yeah, it's like 2005. Yeah, it's like 2005. So this was way before Google and smartphones and Netflix and all that shit. So I had to drive to Blockbuster, and so I drive to Blockbuster to go rent What the Bleep Do We Know, and I get there and they literally just closed, and like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go rent What the Bleep Do We Know. What the Bleep Do We Know? Right when the shit opens up, that's gonna be the first thing that I do, because this motherfucker won't leave me alone about it. So the next morning, I get woken up by this magpie. Magpie is this black and white and blue bird that's related to the crow raven family, right? If you've ever seen these birds. But I remember before this experience happened, of this bird waking me up, I remember specifically, I can picture it still in my mind, parked in front of my ex-wife's ex-work or whatever, where she used to work, and I'm waiting for her to come back into the car, and this magpie is in the fucking snow. Like it just snowed, like fresh snow on the ground, and a dog had just taken a fresh pile of shit, and it's it was on fresh snow to where this thing was just steaming, and this magpie is just like scarfing down like massive chunks like a pelican, just like I remember just gagging and just be like, oh my god, I don't look, don't even look at it. And I had to just try to like block it out of my, because now I could see it in my imagination without even looking at it, and I was still gagging. And yeah, anyway, so this bird wakes me up at 5:55 in the morning, and I'm just like, the sound that these birds make, it's all, it's like very like disturbing, awful sound. Also, to where I know it's a fucking magpie just off of that awful sound that it's making, and I'm picturing the one eating the pile of shit as I'm waking up. I'm like, what, what do you want, disgusting bird? And the bird flies off, and I'm up. I'm like, what the fuck is so important that you have me up at 5:55 in the morning right now? And I never ever really spoke to the universe my whole entire life. Just like one of those people that just NPC'd going through life until I started doing the LSD. And that's whenever I started to fucking like see through the veil. But yeah, I'm woken up at 5:55 by that bird, and I'm like, what is so fucking important? I'm woken up at 5:55, and I turn on the TV, and the TV's all, next on HBO, what the bleep do we know? And that's whenever I picked my jaw up off the ground, changed pants from shitting my pants, because I was gonna rent What the Bleep Do We Know that next morning. And the bird that's related to the crow family and the raven woke me up. And What the Bleep Do We Know is all about our thoughts affecting our reality. If you've ever seen this movie, it's like the movie The Secret, but more about physics, and just the more that we're just constantly having the same thought repeat over and over in our minds, that's what we see in the reality the most. So that's literally what this movie was all about, and it was just going through all these different scenarios. And it's, if you ever remember when the teacher brings in the movie, the TV screen with the VCR for the class to watch one of those cheesy movies, it's like, it's kind of documented like one of those cheesy movies, but it's about some really cool shit that's very fascinating. And yeah, thoughts affecting your reality and manifestation. It was literally about us being manifesting generators, and our thoughts help manifest our reality. So having this massive synchronistic experience with this whole thing, my friend telling me to that I need to go rent this movie, and I could go to rent the movie, the place is closed, and I'm gonna go rent it the next day, and I'm woken up by the fucking bird, and the fucking movie's on fucking HBO, and it's next on HBO. Like, what? I was like, what? I was literally like, what the fucking fuck? And that's when I started to really pay attention to my reality. And I wasn't doing, like, I stopped doing the LSD whenever I got in trouble back in high school, to where I was just being a good little Paul, and had that experience, and it was sparking. It's like I was remembering some shit. And yeah, long story short, I was going through my divorce, and I was living in that condo, having that experience happen. I was one block down the street from this $1 million skate park. I'm in Park City, in the ski mountain resort. I can literally walk to the mountain resort during the wintertime, And when during the summertime, I can walk just 1 block away to the skate park, and I got I was getting super good at skating, and it was only because of Pantera and going through the divorce. And my ex literally left me for some rich like real estate agent dude, and was literally instantly like living in a mansion in a cul-de-sac and dropping off my daughter and all his fancy cars. And I was just like fucking. She was calling me by my first name and calling this motherfucker dad, and same thing happened with my son. My son was trained to call me by my first name and call the guy that she left me with dad. And two different mamas from two different states, and same exact cycle happening. And when I saw these like same exact things happening, like a cycle, like I got my first tattoo when I was 16 years old on my birthday, and I got my first sleeve started whenever I was 32 on my birthday. 16 plus 16 equals 32. I started to notice like all these cycles that were happening. I was born into this cycle of guilt trips and divorce and people leaving each other, and uh, yeah, this just dysfunctional family that never fucking like uh, talked or like hung out and did shit together. You know, I was all that and had no way of like knowing it or handling it whenever shit like got fucking weird to where I'm being called out on my shit. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know who the fuck I just lose my shit and just yeah, be a crazy person. So until I figured out my shit, I've been a crazy person that's always pushed away all my relationships through like being insecure and pulling guilt trip type shit, and yeah, just not knowing who the fuck I was. And yeah, all my relationships have failed because of me. So with that being said, yeah, whenever I was going through my divorce and living in that condo and having the skate park right down the street, just 1 block away, I was getting real good. I was going out and partying and meeting all my friends were the locals from Park City, and a lot of those people were like professional snowboarders and skiers. And I'm not gonna name drop any names, but I was hanging out with like C-class celebrities, I guess you could say. And every year Sundance happens to where all the Hollywood homos and Hollyweird would come through there, and yeah, the whole like child trafficking ring was coming through this motherfucker, and I was oblivious to this whole like mining town and this whole all like just the rich. And I was trying to become I was trying to compete and become one of the Joneses. And yeah, I ended up becoming a sushi chef for 21 years. I started my own sushi catering company. All of my clients were billionaires and doctors and people in the pharmaceutical industry. And after doing that for so many years and realizing all the shit that was going down in 2020, it was eating away at my fucking soul to where I shut down all of my shit. And I was like, fuck this. I'm shutting down my operation here. Like, I channeled the thoughts of Jed Pillars, and I'm just kind of skipping ahead, but let's rewind back. So yeah, growing up in Park City in this mining town, going through the divorce, and I ended up getting in a band, and I'm in a band playing guitar and learning how to play music with other musicians. And I learned how to play guitar by ear, so I didn't know how to read music, or I didn't know how to communicate. What chord? We're in C D. We're in the C D E progression. What are you in? And first time I heard that shit, I was like, I don't know. Whenever I was in my band, and I had to literally go backtrack and relearn all the chords. That way, whenever I came back to band practice, I knew what the fuck I was talking about, and I knew what everybody else was talking about. So, kind of had to play backtrack with the music. But yeah, I was in a band for 5 years, and the first band that I was in, I was just the guitarist. But I went 17 years without being able to sing and play the guitar. 17 years playing the guitar and not being able to sing, no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried. thousands of failures of not being able to sing and play the guitar at the same time. But once I was playing in this band, the bassist loved playing reggae music, and he showed me how to do the reggae skank, the reggae rhythm. Reggae rhythm, back in the 50s when Jamaica, they were getting the radio signal, it was cutting out every like half a second to where something like this sounded like this. So the radio signal was cutting out that Jamaica was getting from the US. So it was cutting out and creating that skanky sound, and that's how the skank was formed. And all the reggae music, if you listen to old like Don Carlos, and you'll hear that like kind of 50s feel in the reggae. They're taking those 50s progressions and turning that shit into sweet reggae. Steer it up. So yeah, long story short, I learned how to play. I learned the reggae skank, and I already loved Sublime at the time, to where I had all these Sublime songs, the lyrics already memorized. And once I learned my first Sublime progression, I remember learning the progression. I was playing it at home. I was just at home alone in that condo I was going through the divorce in, and I started singing and playing the fucking guitar at the same time, just like that. Just do the reggae skank, and came back to the band. I remember downloading probably like 10 songs. I learned 10 Sublime progressions because I already knew the lyrics. So I just learned 10 different progressions, and all of a sudden I was playing songs. Went back to the band and let them know, like, hey, I can fucking sing and play guitar now. Let's start a reggae band. And we did. And we ended up opening up for the Wailers, for Pato Bonton, Sister Carol, the Tribal Seeds. Like, fucking the list goes on. I was in this band for 5 years, and yeah, when that band broke up, it was like going through 5 breakups all at once. It's like the most fucking heartbreaking fucking thing in my life. But yeah, so I was in that condo going through that divorce, and got in the band, and the band was coming up in the streets to where we ended up upgrading and moving in together into this super nice house. This like 4-bedroom, 3-story house, like off of the golf course was in the backyard, and it was the fucking Park City Mountain Resort was in the backyard. And yeah, I think I was paying like $700 a month, like nothing, for this amazing place back when rent was nothing back then. And you can't find shit like that up in Park City nowadays. But yeah, this was where I was living with my bassist and my guitarist, and this was whenever I was starting to have experiences, another shift, and I was doing the hallucinogenics again, going out and partying with my friends, because partying became a routine during that time. And I remember turning 28. I had a birthday party at that house and invited all my friends over, and one of my friends from Dallas was even there. And I'm 48 years old. I'm 47 years old, going on 48, and probably had 5 times where I've actually celebrated my birthday and had friends, and it's felt like, wow, we're actually celebrating me. And it's like, yeah, every birthday is like crickets for the most part. This one time, it was a very memorable evening, and had a friend that flew up from Dallas, and actually had friends from Park York City, all hanging out. And my friend like brought his DJ equipment and set up the DJ booth. And uh, this couple that came over that I invited, they brought me a fucking giant quartz crystal. And gave me the quartz crystal. I had a few drinks in me to where I was excited. It was my birthday, and I was fucking amped up. Uh, yeah, I was having a good time. They hand me this crystal. I'm like, I look at them, like, look at the crystal. Dude, this thing's fucking alive, dude. This thing is fucking alive. And the girlfriend and the boyfriend are just like looking at each other like, I told you he'd know. Like they fucking knew I was gonna be receptive to the crystal, which I was very receptive to the crystal. So receptive that the next day I went to the crystal shop and got myself my first crystal book, the Crystal Bible, and a book on sacred geometry, the ancient Egyptian, or the ancient secret of the flower of life by Drunvalo Melchizedek, and not to be mistaken with a cheesy dick. So I start reading this book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Drunvalo Melchizedek. And it's a giant purple book. There's volume 1 and volume 2. I'm reading volume 1, and the cover has a giant flower of life symbol on the cover of that. And the book, it speaks of a lot of mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence, the knowledge of ancient Egypt and the Great Pyramids of Giza. And in the book, he's channeling Thoth, the ancient god of wisdom, Thoth the Atlantean. And at the time, I didn't know who Thoth was, so every time that I'd read about him channeling Thoth or anything about Thoth, it was going in one ear and out the other. It was right over my fucking head. So I didn't know who Thoth was until I was like in my 40s. So I'm 28 this time. My birthday just passed. And yeah, I got my first crystal book and crystal and reading The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. And Drunvalo Melchizedek says that he's channeling Thoth and he's received this knowledge in trade for the Kundalini meditation. And Kundalini, this energy flow, I channeled the 181-1331 symbol, which is the sigil of our Kundalini. So keep that in mind. And the connecting frequency with time, the oxygen pillars on 8-8, and we're like building up to that. So I might run out of light here to where I might have to do the follow-up video on this build tomorrow, but we'll see. It's been overcasty all day over here. I'm in Santa Cruz. And yeah. So, where am I at here? So yeah, I'm reading that book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. I finish it, and I'm inspired. And in the book, he says that the Flower of Life symbol is laser etched onto the granite wall of the Osirian temple in the Great Pyramids, near the Great Pyramids of Giza. And this Flower of Life symbol, it's the symbol of creation, the knowledge of all the Platonic solids, the mathematics of all the universe exists within the symbol. So I start drawing the symbol with a compass tool. I go and draw this Flower of Life symbol with a compass tool, and I finish it. I set the compass tool on my table, and I put the paper in the book, and I fold it and put it away. And mind you, the night before, I rearranged my entire room around, and the next day I went and drove in my truck to get a tea or some shit, came back, and I parked my truck in the perfect position to where the sun was in the perfect position to be shining its rays onto the truck, shining that ray in through the window of my bedroom, up through the glass table that I'd set the compass on. And this was the image that I saw. See the compass? I set the compass on the table, and this was reflecting on my ceiling. The sun was shining through off my truck that I just moved. I rearranged my room the night before and drew the flower of life and set the compass on the table. And yeah, the sun is shining onto my truck, shining that light through the window, up through the underneath the glass table, and that's reflecting onto the ceiling. I took out my Razr flip phone and took a picture of this. And I posted this years ago. The street that I was living on, Three Kings, like your Orion's belt, your Three Kings, and that's the pyramids of Giza are mirroring Orion's belt, the Three Kings. Yeah, the shit gets super weird. Like this is nothing. Yeah, 15 years ago I started reading The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. The author Drunvalo Melchizedek mentions that his story is of him channeling Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom. He says that he taught him the Kundalini meditation in exchange for Thoth's memories of sacred geometry. 12 years after his experience, he didn't recognize at the time until his next shift that he was also channeling him before, just unaware of it the first time. After reading this book, I immediately started practicing drawing the flower of life, then set my compass down on a square glass table. 3 hours later, the sun was in the perfect position to reflect the image upwards onto the ceiling. And yeah, what's even weirder is that the street that I was living on was Three Kings. And so, let's see here. Just give you guys a little teaser. I channeled the 181 electromagnetic sigil symbol. That's the electromagnetic force. And I took apart the word Thoth and created the halls of Menti, getting the root harmonic of 44 hertz in the second octave, 110 hertz, and the L 11th Fibonacci, 55, 5 sets of 11, 5 times 11 equals 55. That's just kind of a little teaser. Gonna get back into the story here. So yeah, I had that experience in that house, and I was basically going through a massive awakening, and that shift only lasted probably like 2 years, to where the partying ended up taking over and the band broke up. I ended up moving out of that place and moving into some house like up in the fucking mountains that was away from everything, and it was with that kid that I kept running into that had me watch that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? And things were just like kind of going downhill. I got rid of all my shit. I started my own landscaping company and realized that's not what I wanted to do, and I shut that down, and I just sold off everything once again, to where the band breaking up was like going through another fucking divorce, to where that was like going through another divorce, and I was getting rid of all my shit again and starting from nothing. And that's whenever I was still becoming a sushi chef, and I was a sushi chef for 21 years, and after 7 years of just being just a fucking regular nobody sushi chef and sucking, after that 7th year, it's like 7 years, we have all new cells or something, I don't know. But after that 7th year, that's when something clicked and I started to get good. And I was helping this guy open up this restaurant in Salt Lake, and I was basically his shadow. And I was working doubles 6 days a week for 2 years, helping this guy open up this restaurant. And it didn't take 2 years to do that, but just the whole entire process of him opening up the restaurant, that probably took like 5 months. And then I worked at that place for a year and a half or something. But I watched this. I helped this guy open up this restaurant from scratch, buying up all the restaurant equipment to get everything in its place and setting up the place. And he gave me a crash course on the hot kitchen menu, which was it was a Korean menu, and I already knew sushi, and he was opening up the sushi bar, infusing a sushi bar with this Korean hot kitchen. And he gave me a crash course on every single thing, all the recipes that everything in the restaurant was made from, to where I knew how to prep the entire restaurant by myself. And he ended up quitting. I ended up being stuck prepping that place because I was the day guy, and the next chef in line took the position and the pay, and I was doing all the work and not getting any of the credit for it, and basically doing this for a year and a half. And I wasn't stoked. I basically hated my life at the time and was wondering what the hell I was even doing with myself doing this shit. And eventually some guy came up to me and asked me if I could do a sushi party, and I said, yeah, I could do a sushi party. And he he hired me, and I did a sushi party for him, and his friends wanted a sushi party. Did a sushi party for his friends. Their friends wanted a sushi party. And all of a sudden, I had a sushi catering business within like months of just word of mouth. And I wasn't making enough money to where I could quit working at the sushi bar, to where I still had to work at the sushi bar, but I was doing the sushi parties on the side and finally coming up in the street. And mind you, I had a seriously bad head injury after my band. It was like basically like my band broke up after my head injury, and I fell from 10 feet up at one of the skate parks in Salt Lake, and I was doing some trick and got hung up on the coping. And you can imagine standing up at the deep end of a pool that's empty, and then just dive in and land on your forehead right here on your eyebrow. So I shattered my temple, my orbital, and my cheekbone, and I was dead for over a minute. And my friend said that I popped up and jumped up out of the bowl and was running around the skate park like a chicken with its head cut off, and he had to corral me and put me in his truck. He drove me to his friend's house. I came to in the person's bathroom, and I was standing above a toilet in a bathroom I'd never been into. So once I came to and my reality awakened, I guess you could say, I'm like, am I dreaming? Where am I? Like, I'm me, I'm Paul. The most profound questions you would have never asked yourself ever. But I literally had to ask, like, am I me? Is this real? Am I dreaming? I just splattered my face on the cement, shattering my temple, orbital, and cheekbone. And yeah, I'm looking in the mirror and just like wondering, like, who am I? The door opens up, my two friends are just, we gotta get you to the hospital. They're looking at me like I'm a fucking ghost, and they take me to the hospital. And I get to the hospital, they throw me in the CAT scan. Like, he's got an error in his brain. We gotta transfer him to trauma. They transfer me to the trauma center. They put me in the ambulance. I got a bag that I'm just throwing up in, that I've been throwing up pretty much the whole time because I'm massively concussed and traumatized. And yeah, so I remember being in the trauma center, and I couldn't see out of this eye for 5 hours, to where I thought that I was going to have one of those glass eyes and just be like, hi, my name's Paul, and I used to smoke crack, and now I do all these mathematics and these calendars, so I thought I was going to have the fucking glass eye, and yeah, after 5 hours, all of a sudden, I literally watched my vision just come back, because my eye was open. My, actually, no, it was swollen shut. No, it wasn't swollen shut just yet. Yes, I watched my vision come back, like it just instantly came back, but it was after 5 hours of just being black. I remember opening up my eye and just, it was like black, just nothing. And I thought, it's like, you're blind, that eye's gone. And so anyways, then I'd aired my brain. They transferred me to trauma center. They said that everything was intact, so they didn't have to do any surgery. So they basically just let me go the next day and let me heal. And 2 days later, I went back and I was rolling sushi again, and this eye was swollen shut, black and swollen shut, and I'm driving down the highway. It's snowing down Parley's, this massive like mountain hill, and if anything gets in this eye, I'm done. Luckily, nothing got in my eye during that time when I was going through that healing. But I'd literally just started this tattoo. I just started the sleeve, and I had my next session like a week after I did this, and I was doing my second session with this injury, and I just remember just being like, dude, this life is kicking my ass. And so go through the head injury, and I was also, before I moved into that house where I had that head injury and before I started consulting or not consulting, but helping that guy consult and open up that restaurant and get that whole crash course and start my sushi catering business, before moving into that place, I was fucking homeless and going through my divorce, and literally, yeah, I was homeless, and I remember having to sleep in my mom's garage for a week on the floor and in the garage, because I didn't want to like be a nuisance to her and be in her house. I was just ashamed of myself. So being in that house, I was just renting a room from this one kid, this like legendary pro skier, like mountain skier guy. I'm not gonna drop any names, but this guy was a fucking like legend. He was like friends with Shane McConkey. If you guys know who Shane McConkey is, one of the mountains, Park City Mountain Resorts, named after him. And yeah, he was extreme skier, sports dude. But yeah, I was like, those people were just everywhere in Park City. There were extreme athletes were just fucking everywhere. And yeah, living in that place and going through that injury and starting my sushi catering company and going through the ringer in that restaurant, to where I was basically being thrown into a fire, and I didn't like it, but it paid off in the long run. Just putting in, I was into my, like, I was going into like my eighth and ninth year of rolling sushi by then, and yeah, the catering company, after doing sushi for 21 years and doing the catering company for 11 years, things got to a very high level, but I just felt like fucking my soul something was just eating away at my soul. And after 2020 and all the parties that I was doing these caterings at these billion-dollar homes, and working people that work for these pharmaceutical companies, and they're praying, doing ritual prayer type shit, to where they're praying for their like pharmaceutical companies, and I don't believe in any of that shit, all that pharmaceutical company shit. I feel like it's just an evil corporation. And I just was just getting a icky feeling in my stomach, and I had to shut down my operation. And so, where am I at here? You guys know how I had the experience with Thoth and the Flower of Life back in 2005, 2007-ish era, and had a little mini awakening then. And back whenever I was 15 years old, I had a mini awakening whenever I was eating LSD in junior high and high school, and had the massive fucking download. So 15, 16, and then 28, 16 plus 16, or no, 15 plus 15 equals 30. So yeah, it's like 28, 29, 30. That was basically the shift that I was going through during that time. And by the time I was 32, I was back into, I was doing the whole sushi chef thing and getting into the catering and getting, I was in a band, in a little 3-piece band, and it kept breaking up, and we'd keep getting a different bassist, to where I was just going through these ups and downs, and then had the head injury and had to cancel a big show that I was very sad that I had to cancel, because we're going to open up for this one group that I was pumped to work with. And yeah, just like all these opportunities just go downhill, and the recovery of going through this head injury, like I literally couldn't lift anything, and like everything was hard for a year and a half. And everything that I learned in my first shift back in 2007, everything that I was working on, like kind of on the back burner and on the side, because this is a part of my life that I never told. I never shared any of this metaphysical practice and the study of any of any of these experiences. I was keeping all of this to myself, and I never shared any of it. And to have been going through it again at this place, I was so after starting my catering company and getting this place, I was watching the documentary The Secret, and I was like all into manifesting a new reality, and manifested this new condo in town. And I was living with these 2 roommates that were good friends of mine, and we're all working at that sushi bar, where the sushi bar that I was working at was a place where all the legendary chefs of Park City worked at one time. And it has a lot of stories that I could just do videos just on the stories of just this place, and uh, all the things that went down at this place. But I could get into that. But working there and having these 2 roommates and living in that condo together, and this was when I had my first DMT experience with these 2 kids, and the guy that was tattooing the guy that did my sleeves. We all ended up doing DMT together, and they had me go first. And this experience, once I did this, after I was done, I knew my first thought was all the acids and shrooms that I ever did were training for this moment right here. And all the information that was downloaded during that DMT trip, it took 12 years to process and actually grasp. And so I was working at that sushi bar, and I was actually working at this different sushi bar that was in Park City, the one that I helped open up in Salt Lake. I had already moved on. I quit that place, and I was back in Park City at the place that I'd trained before I even helped open this place. Because I started this place back in the very, very beginning. This is like the place that I was like coming back to this place, and I ended up meeting this girl that I fell like madly in love with, and this was during the same time that I did that DMT trip, and I was in a relationship with this girl. And after that trip, the little voice in my head told me, "It's like you're either gonna have to break up with that girl and be single if you want to go down this road, or you can go down the path of love and put this on the back burner and deal with it later." And I told the voice, like, I want to deal with it later and go down the path of love, and kept going down the path of love and left all this knowledge on the back burner for later, which is what I did. And yeah, so meeting this girl at the sushi bar, I had a psychic experience with this girl where her and I made eye contact one night when we were working, and I just felt my fucking heart just drop into my stomach. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, what the fuck was that? It's like, that's mysterious. And yeah, I just kept having synchronicities, like weird little synchronicities, and I was just drawn to this person, and we ended up hitting it off and fell in love. And long story short, things didn't work out. We ended up breaking up, and months had gone by, and I was getting over this person. I had a real hard time getting over this person. I was really deeply, madly in love with this person, and I finally felt like I was doing good getting over. And one night my roommate's like, hey, let's go fucking get sushi at the Sumo, and that's the place that we worked at. And I was like, I don't know, like, this girl, like, she was a waitress there, and I was a sushi chef there, and years had gone by, like, neither of us worked there anymore, so I knew that she wasn't working there. But just going back there just reminded me of all that shit. And my buddy ends up convincing me to go, so I end up going to have sushi, and we sit at the sushi bar, and we're hanging out. We know all the chefs there because we both worked there for years. He used to wait tables there too for years, and we were just all friends. Everybody that worked there, we're just all a big group of friends, and we're sitting there eating, and I'm literally sitting across from where I was standing the moment that I saw my love of my life at the time, whenever my heart dropped in my stomach and had that moment, and was like, what the fuck? I'm like sitting right across from where I was standing, if like time didn't exist, you know? So I'm like literally almost in the same space that I was at whenever I noticed that I had this heart feeling thing happen. And so I didn't notice that at the time that I'm just sitting there just having a good time. I'm having a beer, eating sushi. I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually having a good fucking time. So this isn't as bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And sure enough, my ex walks in with her new boyfriend, and my heart shatters into a million fucking pieces on the ground. And that's when I'm like, oh, that's what that feeling was. That one time when I was standing right there in front of myself, and I was like, what the fuck was that? That was my heart shattering in the future after falling in love and getting my heart broken and watching this girl walk in with her new boyfriend. And yeah, that's whenever I knew that I had some type of like psychic ability. So getting over that it took a long time. My next girlfriend that I had after that, if I could describe her if I could compare her to anything or anybody, it would be a mere reflection of my teenage 18-year-old self going into 21, rebelling against my entire family and entire school and against everything. Like, I was literally dating my mirror self of someone that has a mouth like a sailor, and just brought out the worst in me. And yeah, completely, I got my karma back for just being a hellacious teenager to my mother. And this girl was 28 and I was 38. We started dating when she was 27. I was 37. She was born in 88. I was born in 77. So she was 27. I was 38. That sounds more right. There we go. 11 years apart. 11 years apart. But yeah, this person here, I learned a lot from this one, and yeah, I've been single since I was 39 years old, and I'm 47 going on 48, so going on 9 years of being single, and 4 years of being celibate. No sex for 4 years. And so it might be too much information for you guys, but I'm just trying to let you guys know who I am in the Matrix reality before I start explaining all this shit here. So when I'm living in the house, Three Kings, where I drew the Flower of Life and had that image of the Pyramid of Giza, the eye of the pyramid on the roof there, on the ceiling, I was reading The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. I was reading The Holographic Universe by Mark Talbot. It's about holographic theory. I was reading Opening the Channel, this book Illusions by Richard Bach. Opening the Channel and Shaman Healer Sage. And these books teach you how to open up sacred spaces and portals. And I was getting into crystals, and I bought the Crystal Bible, and I was learning about crystals, and all of this kind of slowly faded away as I moved into that house up into the mountains with my friend that told me about that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? And after moving out of that place, that's whenever I was homeless for a bit and ended up getting that room in that place where I would end up getting that sushi job where I was shadowing that one legendary chef. This guy was a fucking master legendary chef, and I got to shadow him for 4 months and just pick his brain and download everything that I worked with this guy for years, and he never taught me any of this shit, and I was asking him, trying to learn, and I'd literally pay my dues for years before he took me under his wing and passed down the torch of knowledge. And so after shattering my head and being at that place, that sushi restaurant in Salt Lake, and then I quit that place, and it was like a fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out of here type moment. Got out of there. My sushi catering business started to come up in the streets. I was working at that other sushi bar where I fell in love with that girl, and yeah, things were going good. The relationship didn't work out. I literally almost myself to where it was that bad, and I didn't, and I'm grateful that I didn't, because I'm grateful for this story that is my life, and everything that's happened since then, as hard as everything's been. I'm still thankful for this story that the Creator has given to me. And yeah, so I manifest that new condo in Park City, and I'm living in there with my friends, my two friends that we all work at that restaurant. I'm in that relationship that ended up not working out, and now we're broken up, and I'm getting over that relationship and getting my life back into order, and I ended up getting with that new girlfriend eventually, and she would terrorize my life and literally throw me in this like crazy, like weird cycle where whenever I was going through the breakup with her, I found that whenever we all got a house together in Heber, and I'm living in there with my roommate, and him and I ended up uh, butting heads and not getting along anymore after like 5 years of being homies, and it was all because of this girl. She was like just causing trouble and like causing chaos and doing manipulative type shit. And long story short, things didn't work out, and I ended up in this house by myself, and we all broke the lease and got out legally of this lease, and I ended up getting this place in Salt Lake, and I got back together with the ex. I don't know why. She ended up, I'm not going to get into the details of that relationship, but yeah, things didn't work out. We got a place together in Salt Lake that I would end up living there for like 8 years by myself, and I got Scout, and Scout's about to be 9, and yeah, I've been single for almost 9 years, and that was the last place that I was at where I was with her, and my sushi business took off living there, and COVID happened in 2020. All the rent went up everywhere, and I had to move out of that place and go into another place, and all my savings basically just went down the drain from all the inflation of everything that I'd ever built with the sushi catering started to just deteriorate because of all the inflation of all the prices, and everything just got fucking weird. And in 2019, that's whenever I started doing a little bit of the LSD again, and things were starting to click, and I was reading the books, and I was starting to just go through another shift. And yeah, this shift happened when I was living in that house where the last relationship, whenever I was 38 years old, happened, and we were getting back together, and I just like knew that I shouldn't be, but I just wanted to just give it a chance, and it didn't work out, and ended up staying there for 8 years, and that's where I channeled I did my first Thoth tarot card reading, and I read the Book of the Law, but before any of that even happened, I'd already been single from dating the rebellious firecracker girl for years, and my son had come up to visit me, and for not being a father basically my whole life, I was trying to like make it up to him, and I don't think that I don't think that I'm a good father just because I did this, but this was something that I just did for myself, and that I wanted to just do for him to just feel good about myself. I didn't do it for fucking anybody. I just did it for myself and for him. And I bought him a Jeep, but I bought him a used Jeep that basically was not running well and was priced low to where I basically got this Jeep for $900, and this little plastic elbow that was in the engine was cracked, and I replaced that for like $5 and replaced the spark plugs and replaced this motor on the window the window wasn't working, and had him just be involved with this whole thing, and basically sent him back home in his new used Jeep, and shed a tear and had that father-son moment. And like I said, I don't think that this redeems me for me not being there as a father as much as I should have been for him, but that was something that I just felt like I owed him at least a vehicle. And so my daughter had come up to visit me and my son, because she lives in Utah, so whenever he came in town, she came up to hang out one night, and I cooked dinner, and we hung out. And whenever they left, I passed down my last tarot cards to my daughter. They were a very generalized set, and both my kids left, and Scout howled in the front yard for a whole hour, just howling like a wolf. That was the first time that he's ever seen the family together, me and my 2 kids, and he got a taste of me being with my family. And yeah, he was so sad for like a whole hour, just howling. And yeah, so the next day I go and get my new set of tarot cards. I need to go get a new set of tarot cards, and I go to the crystal shop in Salt Lake and I pick the Thoth tarot cards. And mind you, I don't even know who Thoth is at this point yet. I still don't even know who Thoth is. And I meet this person, this friend of my sister's, this friend that she was going to for psychic readings, and she was claiming that she was a shaman. And I was like, I want to meet this person. She's like, you'd be good friends with this person. So I hit her up on social media and introduced myself, and we ended up scheduling a time to meet, and we met at this park, and we're hanging out, sitting down in the grass at the park, and I tell her about how I passed out my cards to my daughter, and tell her how I bought the Thoth tarot cards, and she's like, have you read the Emerald Tablets? I'm like, no, what's Emerald Tablets? She's like, do you know who Thoth the Atlantean is? I'm like, no, who's Thoth? She's like, the god of wisdom from ancient Egypt? I'm like, no. She's like, you don't know who Thoth is? And I was like, no. So I went home and studied Thoth and ordered the Emerald Tablets and the Book of the Law by Crowley, because he's the one that created the or the Thoth tarot cards. And I go and do sushi party literally like the next day, and one of the clients that was at the sushi party, something came up to where Thoth came up, and I was like, hey, I actually just ordered that book. It's on its way in the mail. He's like, dude, cancel it. He's like, what's your email? And I gave my email, and he emails me the PDF of the Emerald Tablets, and I go home after that sushi party and start reading the Emerald Tablets, the PDF. I'm like, what am I doing reading this shit? I'm sitting there staring into the screen. I just YouTubed the audiobook and start listening to the audiobook, and I listened to the audiobook so many times, and once I finally read the book, after listening to the audiobook so many times, whenever I was reading the book, I was hearing the audiobook that I read or that I'd listened to so many times, and it just made it super easy to go through the book. And I read the book so many times and just had all these questions in my mind. I'm like, who the fuck are these Lords of the Nine? Thoth gets initiated into the halls of Amenti, and he meets the Lords of the Nine, and he's in the underworld, and the book describes these Lords of the Nine in all these different ways, and I'm just in my mind, after so many months, I'm just like, who the fuck are these Lords of the Nine? Why do they start 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? There's only 7 of them. Why is it called Lords of the Nine? So on 8/8 of 2022, that's whenever I would channel the Lords of the Nine and line them up with the 9 solfeggial tones, and I connected frequency with time and our calendar system, connecting them with the Thoth, the Jed pillars. But before that, on 4/8 of 2021, whenever I was in that house with the white picket fence with scouts and going through that last breakup when I was 38 years old, and yeah, it was 2021, and I'm reading the Book of the Law because I have the Emerald Tablets. I haven't read that yet, and I have the Thoth tarot cards, and I haven't done a reading off these Thoth tarot cards yet, because whenever I bought these cards and went home and opened up the cards and opened up the pamphlet, and I'm reading through this pamphlet, I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Like, I don't understand any of this shit. Like, what is alchemy, and what does any of this even mean? And I literally had to start and study alchemy and research some things, and yeah, I eventually bought the Book of the Law and start reading the Book of the Law, and I get to this part. So mind you that Thoth is the god of wisdom. He repaired the left eye of Horus. Horus, the falcon sun god of ancient Egypt. The left eye is the feminine eye, the observing eye, and Thoth repaired this left eye. And Thoth represents the sun god Re. Re is the 9th solfeggial tone, so keep that in mind. It's the divine feminine frequency. And the divine feminine is to observe and take in light. So on 4/8, April 8th, I'm reading the Book of the Law, and I get to this part where Crowley says that he's in Cairo and he's channeling Horus, and it's noon sharp. And I go to document my date and time because I want to start documenting my date and time for every little thing now. And I go grab my phone. It's 4/8. It's noon sharp, and I shit my pants. And after shitting my pants, I document that this whole experience happened. And yeah, so the number 4/8, that's the bridge in and out of 44 hertz into 432 hertz, period. And yeah, I'll prove that some other time. But for that to be on that date, and for that to be 117 years after Homie channeled Horus on 4/8 noon sharp, in 1904, it's 2021, 117 years later. The granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the ancient Great Pyramid of Giza, the vibrational value measures 117 hertz. 48 days equals 1 month, and 17 days, like 117. So, January 1st, 101 plus 4 months and 8 days equals the date 5/9. That's the date that I would research the story of Romo saying his twin brother Remo. Romo says his twin brother Remo, the Republic falls and the Empire begins. And this is in 44 BC. So, remember, Thoth is related to the planet Mercury, and it takes the planet Mercury 88 days to travel annually around the sun, and it takes the planet Mercury 59 days for it to make one full spin. And on 5/9, I'm researching the story of Romo saying his twin brother Remo. And that same day, I'm out of light here pretty much. I could let's see if fix it all here. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to scare you guys. But yeah, this is the electromagnetic force, and this is the Thoth Digit Pillars. On 5/9, I channeled that we are in the 9th harmonic of the photon belt. That's the pyramid that I channeled back where it appeared back in 2005. So, where are we at here? Yeah, on 5/9, the Lemuria, that's the first day of the celebration of the Lemuria, 2022. That's whenever I channeled that we're in the 9th harmonic of the photon belt. We are in the photon belt, the 9th harmonic in a 44 hertz world, the power of the feminine. Oh, the 8th horse overtone and the 9th harmonic turns the hertz to 396 hertz, allowing us to see through all the false manipulated programming. And the fact that I didn't even know about the Freemason compass and square and capitalize that right there is fucking insane. And also, the fact that I posted this chart at 44 hertz and 432 hertz with this, because this is Re. This is note D, your 9th harmonic, equaling note D, equaling Re, your 9th solfeggial tone. 4 plus 3 plus 2 equals 9 hertz. So Ramo gets slayed. The Republic falls. 5/9 the Lemuria. This is on 5/9, and this is in 44 BC, like 44 hertz. Romo, more man, slays more Ray. These are the twins. 44 hertz versus 432 hertz. They both live within the sacrum. So they built the Holy Roman Empire, the unholy Roman Empire, with the 44 hertz knowledge and the 44 hertz frequency, shunning the divine feminine. So to channel that, we're in the 9th harmonic of the photon belt, back on 5/9, the same day that I would research the story of Romo saying his twin brother Remo. It's pretty fucking insane, because, yeah, this was the day before 5/8, so I was researching the story the day before and the next day, because I talked with my mother on the phone for 4 hours, and she told me the story of how she used to walk by this statue when she was a kid. She lived in Italy for 9 years, and I was on the phone with her after returning from a trip from Moab, and she told me to research this story, and so I did, and this shit happened. Channeled the 9th harmonic of the photon belt, and then the next octave above 44 hertz. This is your first octave. Your second octave is 110 hertz, 220, 330, 440 hertz. And this is literally what we're building the Thoth Djed pillars from, is harmonics. You can find this in the textbooks of sound bowl healing textbooks. So we're building the Thoth Djed pillars, which is an electromagnetic force. And when those straight lines are actually curved lines, but they're just representing the straight lines, and the numbers represent the value. And those are harmonics. 11, that's your 110 hertz. Your root harmonic of 44 hertz in the second octave. So 11, 22, 40, 33, 44. That's what we're building this Thoth Djed pillar system with, and we're building it with the number of broken space-time symmetry, 137.5, the golden angle, the number that's built into the spirals of pine cones and sunflowers. That corresponds with phi, 1.618, that's also in the spirals of sunflowers and pine cones, 1.618, just like 137.5 is in the spirals of sunflowers and pine cones, and it's also incorporated on the slope of the ancient Great Pyramid of Giza. See, that's phi, and that degree is 42 degrees. Your 42nd prime is 181, just like the 181 symbol that I channeled here 11 days after 5/9 the Lemuria. I channeled the 181 on 5/19. Remember how I channeled the ninth harmonic? That we're in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt. So the ninth harmonic. Holy shit. So yeah, the ninth harmonic of the photon belt being 99 hertz and 99 minutes equals 139 in time. On the 139th day of the year, on 5/19, I channeled the 181. Your 181 electromagnetic force, which is also the 1331. Remember the flower of life? Remember how I drew the flower of life and we got the the eye in the pyramid back in 2007, whenever I was channeling Thoth back then? 19 circles in the flower of life, mirrored and flipped, is 61. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. You can Google this information. So if you mirror and flip 19, it's a 61. And there's 19 circles in the flower of life, and there's also 61 circles in the flower of life. 1610 in time converts to 1810 in time, like your 181 symbol. In 190 weeks, that equals 1331 days, like your 1331. See this symbol right here? I just drew 4 circles and just drew 2 lines on each side of it, and it creates the 181. If I was to cut that in half and pull them apart, it creates the 1331. So this is the electromagnetic force. If I was to flip that forward, you would see the electromagnetic field like that. That's your positive and your negative, and your negative and your positive. And that's your positive and that's your negative flip forward. And if you were to flip that on its side, you would get this 181 symbol here. So this is a sigil mathematic system, because your electromagnetic force, L mirrored and flipped, is 73. The date 7/3 equals 181 days remain. And your L11 Fibonacci 55, 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like 181. And 181 minutes equals 301 in time, when L11 days equals 3.01% of the year, or of a year. And 528 hertz, that's the precise center of the electromagnetic color spectrum, when 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz. So this happened on the 139th day of the year, 5/19, and this was 11 days after channeling that we're in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt. And your ninth harmonic is 99 hertz, and 99 minutes equals 139 in time, and this was channeled on the 139th day of the year. Mathematical proof of a psychic experience, you could say. So for it to be your electromagnetic force, like an L11 days equaling 3.01% of the year, and 181 minutes equaling 301 in time, like, think about that shit. Like, think about all this shit. Something to think about. Because we're talking about channeling Thoth here. If I was to write Thoth, +1, -1, O, +1, -1, it spells the word Thoth, and it's showing us the electromagnetic force once again. You're positive and you're negative. You're positive and you're negative. That's the tube. If you were to be looking down the prana tube, it'd be a circle. So it spells the word Thoth using sigils, right? So like a sigil, if I was to take apart this word and take apart the lines, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. That's 5 sets of 11. And your 11th Fibonacci is 55. 11 times 5 is 55. So the shit connects with massive amounts of time here because a sigil mathematics system, Leo mirrored and flipped is 037, L mirrored and flipped is 73. 73 mirrors 37. And 37 plus 73 equals 110, like your halls of Menti, your electromagnetic force. Your 11th Fibonacci 55 plus 55 equals 110, like your root harmonic, 110 hertz. And your halls of Menti, your electromagnetic force, your L11th Fibonacci doubled in frequency equals 110, L11. So watch this. In 2023, we had a full moon on 3/7. We had a full moon lunar eclipse on 5/5, and we had a full moon on 7/3. And on the 110th day of the year, on 4/20, we had a new moon solar eclipse. And remember how I channeled Horus on 4/8, 117 years after Crowley? On 4/20, that was the day that I'd pull my first Thoth Tarot card. And the date that I pulled that was on the 110th day of the year, on 4/20, and like Thoth taken apart, equaling 110 hertz. The Halls of Menti. I pulled my first Thoth card on 4/20, on the 110th day of the year. And the two cards that I pulled were, both cards told me that a planet was, one card said that Mars was in Capricorn and that Jupiter was in Capricorn, and both those planets were in those signs, looking at my star mathematics, and I was fucking spooked the fuck out, and I went and pulled my shaman medicine cards and thought that would like save me. I ended up pulling the wolf card, and it starts talking about Sirius and the dog god and the ancient Egyptian gods like Thoth and Horus and Sirius, and that's when I just I gave up. I was like, okay, what's up with you guys? And yeah, it's never stopped. So knowing that this flower of life equation that I showed you guys here, and this electromagnetic force being an L11, right? And 610 in time converts to 1810 in time, and that's your 181 electromagnetic force symbol. That flip forward is L11, and they both equal to 181 minutes equals 301 in time, and L11 days equals 3.01% of the year. See that? So see how they like fucking equal each other? Now, pay attention, because we're talking about Thoth, and THOTH spelled with +1, -1, O, +1, -1 spells the word Thoth, and L11, take away the positive and negative and the O, and you get your 1111, right? So 61 circles in the flower of life times L11 equals 671, when 671 minutes equals L11 in time. Now, the speed of light equals 671 million miles per hour, and that is equal to 299,792,458 meters per second, and that's the same number as the coordinates of the Great Pyramid of Giza, 29.9792458 degrees north. Same as the speed of light. That corresponds with 6071 million miles per hour. Remember Thoth, THOTH, it's L11, 61 circles in the flower of life times L11 equals 671, when 671 minutes equals L11 in time. So, knowing that equation right there, and Leo mirrored and flipped being 037 and L mirrored and flipped being 73, and how we get this full moon on 3755, full moon lunar eclipse, and 73 we got the full moon on the 110th day, we got a new moon solar eclipse and all that shit, the 42nd prime being 181, 420 equals 110 days, all these numbers like fucking equal each other. So L11, 61 circles in the flower of life times L11 equaling 671, 671 minutes equaling 1111 in time. 1111 minus 370, remember L, Leo mirrored and flipped is 37, so, and L mirrored and flipped is 73. 1111, L11 minus 370 equaling 741, and L11 minus 730 equals 381. See these numbers right here? And we're getting this from this massive equation here of light frequency and the Thoth, the Jed pillars. 741 minutes equals 1221 in time, and 381 minutes equals 621 in time. Remember? 1111 minus 370 equals 741, and 1111 minus 730 equals 381. These mirror each other. 73 mirrors 37. The 12th prime mirrors the 21st prime, right? So for 741 minutes to equal 1221, and for 381 minutes to equal 621, why is that so important? Because your longest day of nighttime is your winter solstice, 1221, and your longest day of sunlight, that's your summer solstice. Your longest day of sunlight and your longest day of darkness. With this symmetrical equation that connects with channeling the Thoth, the Jed pillars. Now, on 8-8 of this is like the guts of the Thoth, the Jed pillars, looking at it in a sigil way, and this is also another way using physics and the golden angle, the number that measures photon absorption and electromagnetism. So yeah, on 8-8, I would channel the Thoth, the Jed pillars, connecting frequency with time, and this is like one version of the Thoth, the Jed pillars, connecting the 3 with 396, 4 with 417 hertz, 5 with 528 hertz, 6 with 639 hertz, 7 with 741 hertz, 8 with 852 hertz, 99 with 963 hertz, and we're just counting in increments of 11 using those solfeggio tones. 110 hertz, the root harmonic of 44 hertz. The next frequency is 220 hertz, 330 hertz, 440 hertz. Let's drop the 0 and just count in increments of 11. 11 plus 11 equals 22, plus 11 equals 33, plus 11 equals 44. That lines up to 417 hertz at the sacrum. 44 plus 11 equals 55, lined up at the solar plexus. Remember, this is the solar plexus, the electromagnetic solar plexus, solar, sun, electromagnetism. 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like 181. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528. So 550 hertz. 55 plus 11 equals 66, lined up with the heart chakra with 639 hertz. 66 plus 11 equals 77 or 77, lines up with 741 hertz. Throat chakra, 77 plus 11 equals 88, lined up with the third eye audio with 852 hertz. 88 plus 11 equals 99, lined up with 963 hertz with the crown chakra. So the crown ended up being Thoth. Remember, positive 1, negative 1, O, positive 1, negative 1 spells the word Thoth. We're just dropping the negative and positive in the O, and we're getting 1111, and we're counting in increments of 11. So 11 plus 11 equals 1122, and that lines up here the third eye. Holy shit. So 11 plus 11 equals 1122. That lines up the third eye audio going down. 1122 plus 11 equals 1133, lining up with the throat chakra going down. So 1133 plus 11 equals 1144 hertz. Lined up with the heart chakra going down. 1144 hertz plus 11 equals 1155. Solar plexus. 1155 plus 11 equals 1166. Lined up with the sacrum. 1166 plus 11 equals 1177. Lined up with the root chakra, the underground, the soil. So coming out of the underground and sprouting up into the ground level at 44 hertz, 440 cubits, measures the Great Pyramid of Giza. Queen's Chamber measures 11.88 cubits, 1177 plus 11 equals 1188. 1188, lining up with the sacrum at 440 cubits, 440 hertz. 1188 plus 11 equals 1199, going up, lining up with the solar plexus. 1199 plus 11 equals 1210, lining up at the heart chakra, going up. 1210 plus 11 equals 1221, lining up at the throat chakra, and 1221 plus 11 equals 1232, ending this cycle and this giant torus field that's cymatic frequencies in numbers. So remember how 1221 lined up here at the throat chakra at 77 and 741 hertz? 741 minutes equals 1221 in time. The date 1221 would line up with the date 1221, and the date that would line up with 1133 hertz would be the date 924. 177 years equals 924 months. You see that? That's the date that lined up with 1133 hertz. Boom. Look at that thing. But yeah, channeled this thing on 8/8, and I'll yeah, the Lionsgate portal connects with the 181. If you were to stack two 101s on top of each other, it creates the 101, the 181. 610 in time converts to 1810 in time, and 61 minutes equals 101 in time. Sigil mathematics. So the date 8/8 equaling 220 to 221 days. 1 hour and 81 minutes equals 221 in time, like your 181. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz, the precise center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. 22 days equals 528 hours. 188 equals 220 days, like 22 and 22. So see how they all like overlap over each other. So yeah, just connected frequency with time, and I wanted to share connecting frequency with time with you guys because I'm investigating the whole mockery of this knowledge. This knowledge is being used and being made a fucking mockery of, and yeah, the next live that I do, I'm going to be talking about how I left on this journey standing against colonization, and in channeling the 181, I channeled that 181 symbol back on 5/19 of 2022, and the thought that Jed Pillars, not knowing what the fuck any of that shit was, and I got evicted on 10/7 of 2023, and that's the date that the genocide began, and that genocide was because of Resolution 181 established on 11/29, and 11/29 lines up with the date 11/29 lines up with 1199 hertz on the solar plexus chakra with 528 hertz, like the Indian removal act of 1830 on 528. So I got evicted on 10/7, the date that genocide began, because of Resolution 181. The next day, that's when I found Resolution 181 and was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? And then I left on my mission standing against colonization and this whole genocide that happened, that I knew that something was going on. My ancestor was enslaved from the encomienda system, the Luisa Vivancos, and I felt like the ancestors were speaking through this thing. And yeah, I left on November 4th of 2023. I'm coming up on 2 years of living in my fucking car, studying this work before I can even tell you the story. I felt like I couldn't even tell you guys the story until yesterday. Like I didn't have all the pieces of, not enough of the story developed to where I could tell the story in true context, to where now that I've got everything in it's place, now I can tell the story in context confidently, knowing that I'm not leaving any like major thing out. So yeah, I've been holding this in since 2023, and I've been wanting to tell this story since 2023, but I didn't know what any of this shit was. I didn't even know how to read the calendar yet. Like the way that I'm reading the calendar now. A year ago, whenever I was in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, I was looking at the calendar. I wasn't even looking at the calendar the way that I'm looking at it now. So whenever I left for my mission standing against colonization, after finding Resolution 181, the day after I got evicted on 10/7, the day that the genocide began, because of Resolution 181 splitting that place into two places, creating that one place in 1948. Yeah, the next day I found Resolution 181, and then I was given 2 months to leave the property that I was renting from. I always paid rent on time. super good tenants. And yeah, I left on 11/4, and the day before I left was the date 11/3, like 73 minutes equaling 113 in time, like 113. The date 11/3 is the date that I found the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28, signed into law by your Grand Master Mason, President Andrew Jackson. And remember, Resolution 181, established on 11/29. The 11/29 lines up the solar plexus chakra here on my Thought the Jed pillar chart, and with 1199 hertz going up and 528 hertz, it's lined up there with 181. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, and lined up there with 55 hertz, 550 hertz. 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like Resolution 181 and 1129. The date lines up with 1199 hertz, lined up with 55 and 528 hertz, like on the solar plexus. Fucking insane. So, finding Resolution 181 and being evicted on 10/7, and finding the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28, signed into law by your Grand Master Mason, President Andrew Jackson, and Resolution 181 was established on 11/29, endorsed by your other Grand Master Mason, President Harry Truman? No. So once I fucking saw that, I was like, all right, there's no way that all this shit just like lines up with the Thought the Jet pillars. And for the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28, and Resolution 181, 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 5/28. So for all of that to mathematically line up and connect with the Lemuria, channeling the ninth harmonic on 5/9, and researching the story of Romo slaying his twin brother Remo on 5/9 in Lemuria, that's the 129th day of the year. 129, like the Resolution 181, 11/29. Those are the same numbers as your Battle of Wounded Knee on 12/29. Your Oscarville massacre on 1912. Your Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party in 1921. Did I say that right? Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. That number 129 in 2019, the $38 billion aid package that went to that one place that was created in 1948, that was endorsed by your Grandmaster Mason, your 33rd degree Grandmaster Mason. And yeah, that whole shit show. Yeah, I'll follow up on it live. I'm about to pee my pants here, and I'm running out of lights, and I gotta move parking spots because I can only park here till 10. And I literally couldn't have done this project and stood against colonization without all the donations that have been sent my way, and it's all been done through Instagram, all through Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me on there, or my Venmo and PayPal information are on my like profile on my Instagram at Paul Manarriz 1177, last name Munarriz. And yeah, if you just want to donate to this cause, standing against colonization, I've got this thing so fucking mapped out now to where now I can finally start telling the story. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of backstory of getting to know myself a little bit, and I'll keep adding to that story piece by piece now that I feel like I'm opening up to you guys. I just didn't want to start telling the story until I had everything in context. It literally took 3 years of... I built the Thought the Jed pillars back on 8/8 of 2022, and I just had my 3-year anniversary on 8/8 of 2025. So I've been having to study this thing and fix all the little minor mistakes that were made, to where I couldn't actually zoom out and read this calendar until I had everything fixed. And I had like thousands of mistakes that I had to fix within these past 3 years. So if you could imagine this journey, like if I was to learn how to skateboard or play the guitar, the first year or two I'm going to suck, but the third year I'm going to start picking things up. So you guys are just catching me at the time whenever I'm actually getting organized. And I was a sushi chef for 21 years. I'm master of organizing. Now that I've got everything in its place, I can forget about all of this shit and just freestyle and tell you guys stories, zooming out. And yeah, I just had to get everything in its place and make sense of this calendar system and make sense of time and what's it actually being used for. Um, that way I don't sound like a fucking asshole or a dumbass. So I can go back and watch these videos and learn from my past self versus watching the videos and be like, man, you're just making mistake after mistake. Oh my god, I spilled my coconut water. Oh my god, this is heaven. Oh, heavenly coconut water. So yeah, if you guys would like to donate to the cause, find me on Instagram at Paulmunariz, PaulMunariz 1177, and my information is on my profile. And appreciate everybody that's subscribed and tuned in to this and put up with me through the years trying to figure out all of this stuff. I've basically been building all of this backwards because it's been channeled, and I'm literally reverse engineering what was already reverse engineered. So, excuse me, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I love you guys, and I appreciate every single one of you. We are all masters of space-time, and that multiverse exists within our liquid crystal DNA. Our liquid crystal proteins are all piezoelectric, and we are the timekeepers. Our me time is the original time. So all these motherfuckers capitalizing off of our me time, fuck these motherfuckers. Nil ion heirs.